AITA for telling my sister she can't bring her dog to my wedding, even though it upsets her. I, 29F, am currently planning my wedding, which is set for next summer. My fiancé, Mark, 31M, and I have been together for about 5 years and recently got engaged. We're super excited, but also overwhelmed with the planning. One of the biggest sources of stress has been managing family expectations and logistics. Here's the background. My sister, Emma, 26F, is someone I've always had a complicated relationship with. We get along well enough, but have never been super close. She's a huge dog lover and has one dog, a rather large, energetic golden retriever named Max is basically her baby, and she treats him as part of her immediate family. I'm personally more of a cat person, and while I like dogs, I don't share her level of obsession. When I announced my engagement, Emma immediately started dropping hints about bringing Max to the wedding. She said it would be so special to have him there, and that it would make the day more memorable for her. Initially, I thought it was a joke, but as things progressed, it became clear she was serious. Here's why I don't want Max at the wedding. The venue we booked is an elegant, historical manor with strict no-pet policies. The management specifically said no animals are allowed inside, except service animals. It's not something I can just override or ignore, and I'm not willing to risk losing the deposit or causing any issues with the venue. The wedding will be formal. We're asking guests to dress in black tie attire, and I want the atmosphere to reflect that. A large, excited dog running around might disrupt the vibe and make some guests uncomfortable, especially those with allergies or fears. We're having a relatively small guest list, and the space will be tight. There's not really a good area for Max to stay without being underfoot. I'm worried about liability. Even though Max is well-behaved, he is a big dog, and there will be children and elderly relatives. Any unexpected incidents could cause serious problems. I told Emma all of this in a kind but firm way when she brought it up. I said, I understand how much Max means to you, but I really can't have pets at the venue. It's just not allowed, and even if it were, it wouldn't be the right fit for the wedding. I tried to offer alternatives, like having her bring photos of Max for a display or including him in the rehearsal dinner, which is happening at a dog-friendly park, but she was visibly upset. Since then, Emma has been distant and has made several passive-aggressive comments. A few weeks ago, she asked if she could sneak Max in just for a little while, which I obviously said no to. I even spoke to my parents about it, and they agreed with me, saying that the venue rules and the formality are good reasons to say no. However, a mutual friend recently told me Emma has been telling people that I'm heartless for not letting her bring Max, and that I don't care about her feelings or Max's happiness. She also said Emma hinted she might not come to the wedding if Max isn't allowed. I feel torn because I don't want to upset my sister, but this wedding is one of the biggest days of my life. I want it to be as smooth as possible, and I feel like I'm being reasonable about the situation. Plus, the venue's rules aren't negotiable. AITA for telling Emma she can't bring her dog to the wedding. After writing this, I want to add some context about our past family dynamics because maybe it's relevant. Emma has always been a bit dramatic and has a tendency to push boundaries. She once threw a tantrum at my birthday party because I didn't let Max sit on my lap. He's a big dog, and I was wearing a delicate dress. She also often expects special treatment because she's the younger sibling and has been a bit spoiled by our parents. Our parents have always tried to mediate between us, but usually side with me on matters like this because they understand the practical concerns. When I first mentioned to Emma that Max couldn't come, she said, "You're making me choose between my dog and my sister," which I told her was unfair since it's not about the dog versus me, but about the rules and the type of event it is. I really hope Emma decides to come to the wedding regardless, because I don't want this to blow up into a bigger family feud. But if she doesn't, I will feel hurt and disappointed. Some additional points I want to clarify. I have offered to take Max for a walk or spend time with him during the rehearsal dinner and the reception after party, which will be at a pet-friendly location. Emma is not a service dog owner, so Max is just a pet. The venue's insurance and management have emphasized no pets. I've even considered hiring a professional pet sitter or someone to look after Max during the wedding, but Emma insists she wants Max there with her. I understand that Emma's attachment to Max is strong, but I also believe that a wedding has boundaries that need to be respected. We are not having any children or other animals involved in the ceremony. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for standing firm on this and refusing to let my sister bring her dog to my wedding, despite how much it upsets her? Or should I have been more flexible and found a way to include Max? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to apologize after my sister's wedding meltdown ruined the day for everyone. This whole situation is exhausting to even type out, but I'll try to keep it as clear as possible. I'm 30F, and my younger sister, 28F, got married last month. The wedding was supposed to be a big family event, a happy occasion for all of us. Instead, it turned into a complete disaster because of one massive meltdown that my sister threw, and everyone expects me to apologize for it. I'm not sure if I'm the asshole or not, but I really feel like I did nothing wrong. A little background. My sister, let's call her Emma, and I have always had a competitive relationship. Nothing outright mean, just this constant undercurrent of rivalry that everyone around us can feel. We're both successful in different ways. Emma has always been the more outgoing, perfect one, popular in school, a star athlete, and now she's married to a very well-off guy. I've always been more introverted, focused on my career as a software engineer. Our parents often compare us, whether intentionally or not, and it's always felt like Emma gets the spotlight. I wasn't involved in the wedding planning much. Emma and her fiancé, Dave, handled most of it, and I was mostly there for support when asked. My role was bridesmaid, and I was happy to help with that. I have a good relationship with Dave and his family, so I thought things would be smooth. Fast forward to the day of the wedding. Everything was going perfectly up until the reception. The speeches had started, and everyone was in great spirits. My sister's best friend gave a heartfelt toast, and then it was my turn. I prepared a speech about my sister that was honest and a little funny. Nothing mean, just stories about growing up with her, the kind of anecdotes you'd expect. I wanted to make it personal, not a rehearsed, sappy speech. When I started, I made a joke about how Emma used to steal my clothes without asking, and how she was always the golden child who somehow got away with everything. It got a few laughs, but then I mentioned a time when Emma had been very competitive with me over a school project, which caused some tension between us for a while. The room got quieter, and Emma's face visibly changed. I figured I could diffuse it by moving on quickly and talking about how proud I was of her today. But then, Emma interrupted me mid-speech. She stood up and loudly accused me of trying to embarrass her in front of everyone. She said my speech was petty and selfish, and that I clearly held a grudge against her. She started crying and stormed out of the room. The music stopped. The atmosphere turned super awkward. Her fiancé and parents chased after her, and the reception was on a forced pause for nearly an hour. After she left, people came up to me, some saying my speech was inappropriate and I should have been more considerate. My parents called me later and told me I ruined Emma's special day and needed to apologize. Emma herself sent me a long message saying she never wants to speak to me again and that I had no right to make her look bad. I am honesty buffet. I didn't say anything untrue or malicious. I didn't call her out publicly for anything humiliating. I just spoke about real memories we shared. And yes, some of those memories showed our complicated relationship, but it's not like I revealed dark secrets or attacked her personally. I do wish Emma hadn't reacted so explosively, but I can't help feeling like she's trying to silence me and make me responsible for her meltdown. Should I apologize for hurting her feelings and ruining the day? Or was I justified in speaking honestly, even if it made her uncomfortable? AITA for not apologizing after my sister's wedding meltdown? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she asked me not to bring my girlfriend, even though we've been together for over 2 years? I, 28M, have a younger sister, Sarah, 26F, who's getting married in about 2 months. Growing up, Sarah and I were very close. We shared a lot of childhood memories, and supported each other through tough times. Over the last few years, however, things between us have become strained, mostly because of her controlling tendencies and the way she manages her life events. About 2.5 years ago, I started dating Emma, 27F. Emma is amazing. She's smart, funny, and kind-hearted. My family met her early on, and for the most part, they've been welcoming. Emma gets along well with my parents, and even Sarah had no initial objections, or at least she didn't voice any concerns. When Sarah got engaged last year, I was genuinely happy for her. She and her fiancé, Mark, have been together for about 4 years, and they seem compatible. The wedding planning started, and naturally I was excited to be a part of it. I thought this would be a great chance for my girlfriend and me to bond more with my sister and her future in-laws. About 6 weeks ago, I received a text from Sarah that left me shocked. She asked me not to bring Emma to the wedding. The reason she gave was vague. She said Emma wasn't the right fit for the event and that it would be better for everyone if I came alone. I asked her to clarify, but she didn't really give me a straight answer. She just said it was a family decision and insisted that Mark's family preferred a smaller, more intimate group. When I pointed out that Emma and I are a serious couple and that excluding her felt hurtful and unfair, she said I was making it about me and that I was being dramatic. I was stunned. My sister has never behaved this way before, and I thought this was a major red flag. I confronted her again, asking why she'd single Emma out like this when my parents, who were also invited, would obviously bring their spouses. She said the comparison wasn't the same and that there are things you don't understand about the family. At this point, I was hurt and confused. I wanted to believe that maybe this was a temporary misunderstanding or something related to wedding logistics. But the more I tried to discuss it with Sarah, the more she shut down the conversation or blamed me for overreacting. I talked to my parents, who were upset that Sarah didn't just say it outright to me, but said they understood her wanting to keep the guest list small and that she was trying to avoid drama. They suggested I should just respect her wishes because it was her wedding. I told Emma everything, and she was understandably hurt. She said that she wouldn't feel comfortable attending a wedding where she wasn't welcome, especially for my own sister. She asked me what I planned to do. I decided to send Sarah a message saying that if Emma couldn't come, then I wouldn't either. I explained that I wouldn't participate in an event that made my partner feel excluded and unwelcome. I hoped this would make Sarah reconsider or at least lead to a conversation. Instead, Sarah blew up my phone with angry messages. She accused me of being selfish and trying to sabotage her wedding. She said that if I cared about our family, I'd just come without Emma and support her on her big day. She called Emma dramatic and not part of the family. It was painful to read how bitter she sounded. Now, the wedding is 2 months away, and I haven't spoken to Sarah since that message exchange. Our parents are caught in the middle, trying to keep peace, but also siding with Sarah to some degree because it's her day. I've received mixed feedback from friends and coworkers. Some say I'm overreacting and that it's just one day, so I should put aside my feelings and go. Others say that Sarah's behavior is unreasonable and that I did the right thing by standing up for Emma. Honestly, I feel torn. I love my sister and want her to be happy, but I don't want to be made to feel like my relationship is less valid. I also don't want to start my marriage with Sarah on such a hostile note or cause a rift in the family. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she told me not to bring my girlfriend? Or is Sarah the one who's being unfair here? AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she repeatedly disrespected me and my fiancé? So, this is a long story, and I've been debating whether to post it because it involved a lot of family drama. But here goes. I, 28F, have been with my fiancé, 30M, for about 5 years now. We live together, are engaged, and have been planning a pretty modest wedding for next year. My sister, 26F, is getting married this summer, and her wedding plans have been complicated to say the least. To give some background, my sister and I have never been super close. We grew up together, sure, but our personalities have always clashed. She's more of a free spirit, and I'm a bit more structured and cautious. We've had arguments over small things growing up, but we mostly stayed civil for family gatherings. About 2 years ago, my sister started dating her fiancé, and as they got more serious, I started noticing some tension between them and me, mainly because I wouldn't bend to every one of their demands or opinions about family matters. It was subtle at first, like her making snide remarks when I didn't support certain choices she made, or her fiancé openly rolling his eyes when I tried to have a say during family conversations. I tried to ignore it, hoping things would improve. Fast forward to last fall, my sister got engaged and immediately started planning a huge wedding. She's very ambitious about it. A massive venue, expensive catering, extravagant decor. Basically the kind of wedding that costs tens of thousands of dollars. When she first told me about the plans, I was happy for her, but also concerned because my family isn't particularly wealthy. Our parents have helped with some of the costs, but my sister has insisted that anyone who wants to attend should chip in to cover the expenses, including me. Now, here's where it starts to get tricky. My fiancé and I have been saving for our own wedding, which we want to keep relatively small and within a budget we can comfortably afford. When my sister asked if I could contribute to her wedding costs, I told her that we had our own financial plans and couldn't help cover her wedding expenses. I didn't say no outright. I just said we'd love to celebrate with her, but couldn't pay for anything extra. She did not take this well. The next time we talked, she made a passive-aggressive comment about how family is supposed to support each other, especially on something as important as a wedding. She even implied that if I couldn't contribute, maybe my fiancé and I shouldn't come at all. I was shocked because I never thought it would come to that. I told her that attending doesn't require paying, but if she wanted gifts or help, that was a separate issue. She didn't respond. Things stayed icy for a while, but the real problem started a few months ago when she invited me to a planning meeting with her wedding coordinator. I agreed to go because I wanted to try to be involved and maybe smooth things over. At the meeting, she and her fiancé spent the entire time criticizing my choices and preferences for my own wedding, even though I hadn't asked for their opinions. They said our plans were boring, cheap-looking, and not worthy of a proper celebration. My fiancé was there, and he was understandably upset. I tried to stay calm, but it felt like a personal attack. After that meeting, I told my sister that I didn't think it was healthy for us to be involved in each other's wedding planning if it was going to cause tension. I said I wanted us to enjoy the celebrations without stress, but she said I was being dramatic and needed to grow up. She also said I was selfish for not wanting to contribute to her wedding, especially since I was planning to have my own. At this point, I decided that I was not going to give her money or contribute beyond maybe a modest gift. My fiancé and I agreed that it was better to keep our distance and focus on our own wedding. The fallout came last week when my sister called me out of the blue, furious that I hadn't given her any financial help for the wedding. She accused me of trying to sabotage her special day and said if I didn't contribute, she would have to reduce the guest list, and I might not be invited. I was stunned. I told her I wanted to come, but I was not going to pay for her wedding. We got into a huge argument, and she said some very hurtful things about me being selfish, greedy, and not a good sister. I haven't responded since because, honestly, I don't know what to say. I want to support my sister and be there for her wedding, but I don't think it's fair that she's demanding money from me when she treats me and my fiancé like we're not family. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she repeatedly disrespected me and my fiancé? Should I just suck it up and pay to keep the peace? Or am I right to stand my ground? AITA for refusing to let my sister's kids stay at my house after she decided to move abroad with zero warning? This is going to be a bit long, so please bear with me. I, 32F, have a younger sister, Emma, 28F, who has 2 kids, ages 5 and 7. For a bit of background, Emma has always been a bit impulsive, often making life choices without thinking through the consequences, and she's leaned on me for emotional and sometimes financial support over the years. I live in a medium-sized city where I have a stable job as a graphic designer and a nice little home. I'm single and without kids, and I love my quiet, predictable life. Emma, on the other hand, has had a bit of a rough patch in life. She's been divorced twice, moved around a lot, and often struggles with keeping steady work. Her kids, though, are great, well-behaved and sweet, but I always saw them as a responsibility that falls on Emma, not me. About 2 weeks ago, I got a call from Emma out of the blue. She sounded panicked and tearful, which isn't unusual for her. She told me she was moving abroad to start fresh, some country in Europe she'd never even lived in before. No job lined up, no plan, just a feeling that she needed to leave. I was shocked, but tried to be supportive, asking about what that meant for the kids and how she planned to handle their schooling and everything else. Here's where it gets complicated. Emma then said that she needed me to watch her kids for an indefinite period while she settled into her new life overseas. She said she wasn't sure how long she'd be gone, maybe a few months, maybe longer, and that she couldn't take the kids with her because of visa issues and school enrollment problems. She begged me to say yes, saying it was the only option she had and that she'd be so grateful. I told her straight up that this was a huge responsibility and that I wasn't prepared to suddenly become a guardian to her children, especially without any prior planning or legal arrangements. I offered to help her find childcare or even help with the moving logistics, but I told her I couldn't take the kids indefinitely. Emma got very upset and started crying harder, accusing me of being selfish and abandoning her when she needed help the most. The next few days were a roller coaster. Emma sent me messages saying I was a bad sister, that she couldn't believe I wouldn't help her, that I didn't love my nephews, etc. I stayed firm, saying I could support her emotionally and maybe financially, but I could not take on the role of parent to two young kids overnight. Then things escalated. Emma's ex-husband, their father, contacted me, asking if I could do the right thing and watch the kids while Emma was gone, because he had a demanding job and couldn't handle full-time parenting. He made it sound like this was a favor to the whole family. I told him no, explaining that as their aunt, I loved my nephews but wasn't equipped or willing to take care of them full-time. After that, Emma's parents got involved. They think I'm being unreasonable and told me I should step up for the family. They said Emma is going through a tough time and that the kids need a stable home. I told them I understood that, but pointed out that I have my own life and responsibilities, and taking in two young kids with no warning or plan isn't something I can do. Emma finally told me that if I didn't take the kids, she'd have no choice but to leave them with their father or in temporary foster care while she gets her life together. She said she didn't want that, and that I was the only family member who could help. At this point, I'm stuck. I feel awful for Emma and the kids, but I can't drop everything in my life to become their caregiver. My job is demanding, and my home is not child-proofed or set up for children. I'm worried that if I say no, I'm damaging my relationship with my sister forever. But if I say yes, I'm signing up for something I'm totally unprepared for, and that might also damage our relationship in the long run. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's kids stay with me indefinitely while she moves abroad without a plan? Should I just bite the bullet and help her even if it's inconvenient and stressful? Or am I right to set boundaries here? AITA for refusing to take my husband's side when he kicked my sister out of our house during Thanksgiving. This happened over the last Thanksgiving holiday, and I'm still kind of reeling from the whole thing. I'm hoping to get some perspective on whether I'm the asshole here or if my husband was out of line. I, 32F, have a younger sister, Emily, 27F, who has always been a bit of a handful. Growing up, she was a wild child, constantly getting into trouble, making questionable decisions, and generally being a headache for the whole family. As adults, she's mellowed out a bit, but still has this pattern of being reckless and impulsive. I love her to bits, but sometimes it's exhausting. My husband, Mike, 34M, has always been pretty wary of Emily. He's told me on several occasions that he doesn't trust her, and after a few run-ins with her behavior, he's developed a low opinion of her. I usually defend her, or at least try to see her side, but Mike and Emily have never gotten along well. So fast forward to this year's Thanksgiving. We hosted it at our house for the first time in years. Usually we either travel or go to my parents' place, but this year Mike wanted to do something different. He was excited about hosting and cooking, so I was on board. Emily was invited, as were my parents and a few close friends. I made it clear to Emily beforehand that while she was welcome, I expected her to behave herself and respect our home. She agreed and even said she was looking forward to a quiet, low-key dinner. Thanksgiving Day arrived, and everything was mostly fine until Emily showed up with a few friends I hadn't met. She didn't ask if it was okay, just assumed she could bring them along. I was a bit annoyed, but decided not to make a scene. The trouble started after dinner, when Emily and her friends began drinking heavily. Things escalated quickly. Emily started loudly complaining about Mike, calling him controlling and boring. She made a point of being disrespectful, loudly criticizing the meal and the house. Mike asked her to tone it down, which she ignored. Then she started messing with the decorations and breaking some of the glassware. I told her she needed to stop before she caused a scene, but she laughed it off and kept going. At this point, Mike had enough. He told Emily she needed to leave. She refused, saying she had every right to stay since she was family and was invited. Mike then told her again more firmly, and when she continued to ignore him, he told her she had 5 minutes to gather her things and get out. Emily got angry, calling Mike a tyrant and threatening to call my parents and tell them he was mistreating her. I tried to calm things down, but Mike was insistent. Emily finally left in a huff, threatening never to speak to me again and saying she hated Mike. Now here's where things get complicated. After she left, I was torn. I agreed that she was out of line and that Mike was right to ask her to leave, but I also felt like Mike could have handled it more delicately. I felt like he embarrassed her in front of our guests and maybe escalated the situation when he could have de-escalated it. I didn't defend Mike publicly, and I told Emily privately that I understood her frustration but couldn't excuse her behavior. My parents got involved because Emily called them, and they sided mostly with me, saying that Emily was being difficult but that Mike's approach was harsh. Mike thinks I should have backed him up more and that I was disrespecting him by not taking his side more firmly. He said I was enabling Emily by not supporting his decision outright, and that it made him feel like I wasn't on his team. I told him that I'm on his team, but that I also love my sister and want to be fair. I don't think I'm obligated to just take his side blindly, especially when I think he could have handled things differently. He accused me of being disloyal, and now there's this coldness between us that wasn't there before. Emily has basically ghosted me, which hurts because I do love her, even with all her flaws. My parents are staying neutral, but the atmosphere around the family is tense. I'm still trying to figure out if I really should have taken Mike's side more aggressively or if I was right to try and be balanced. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for not fully backing my husband when he kicked my sister out of our house on Thanksgiving? Was I disrespecting Mike by trying to be fair to Emily, or should I have just sided with my husband no matter what? I'm honestly torn, and any honest input would be appreciated. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her toxic behavior and then getting accused of ruining her big day? I, 28F, have always had a complicated relationship with my older sister, Emily, 32F. Growing up, she was the golden child, smart, charming, and seemingly perfect in the eyes of our parents and everyone around us. I, on the other hand, was more introverted and struggled to gain the same level of affection or attention. Our parents often played favorites, which Emily never hesitated to use to her advantage. Over the years, Emily's behavior toward me went from annoying little sibling rivalry to outright toxic. She would constantly belittle me, make passive-aggressive remarks in front of family and friends, and even try to manipulate situations to isolate me. Whenever I stood up for myself, she'd flip the narrative and paint me as the problematic one. This led to many family gatherings where I felt unwelcome and anxious. Fast forward to last year, Emily got engaged to her boyfriend, Mark. The wedding plans took over her life, and instead of it being a joyful occasion for everyone, it quickly became a source of stress and conflict. Emily insisted on control over every tiny detail, from the guest list to the seating arrangements. I was initially included, but after a few interactions with her, I realized she was using the wedding as a way to gaslight me and manipulate other family members. Some examples of her behavior during the wedding planning. She explicitly told me she didn't want me to bring my boyfriend, saying, "This isn't the place for your drama." I wasn't bringing any drama, but I had no say in it. She asked our parents to tell me not to cause a scene at the rehearsal dinner, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. When I expressed concerns about certain family members being invited who had a history of treating me poorly, she dismissed my feelings and said it was her wedding and her decision. She started spreading rumors that I was upset about being left out and was trying to sabotage her big day, which wasn't true. About a month before the wedding, I confronted Emily about her toxic behavior and told her that I didn't feel comfortable attending if this was how she was going to treat me. I asked for some space and respect, but she refused to listen and told me that if I didn't come, I was selfish and ruining the family's happiness. Despite repeated attempts to resolve things peacefully, Emily's attitude only worsened. At one point, she even accused me of trying to steal her thunder and said that I was the only one standing between her and her perfect wedding. Eventually, I made the difficult decision to not attend the wedding. I told Emily that I loved her and wished her happiness, but I could not be part of an event where I felt disrespected and hurt. I informed our parents and a few close relatives, and while some were supportive, others were disappointed. The day of the wedding, Emily sent me multiple messages accusing me of ruining her day and being selfish. Our parents also expressed their frustration, saying I should have swallowed my pride for the sake of family unity. I tried explaining my side, but they said I was making excuses. Since then, our family gatherings have been tense, and Emily refuses to talk to me. Some relatives have taken her side, calling me the villain. I don't regret protecting my mental health, but I'm starting to wonder if I overreacted or should have handled things differently. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her toxic behavior and getting accused of ruining her big day. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of a huge family secret she decided to reveal last minute. I, 32F, have always been close to my sister, 29F, even though we have very different personalities. She's extroverted, dramatic, and loves to be the center of attention, while I'm more introverted and prefer to keep things low-key. Despite that, we've always supported each other through thick and thin, or so I thought. Our parents divorced when we were kids, but we stayed in touch with both of them. Our mom remarried when I was 18, and my sister was 15. Her stepdad has always been a part of our family, and I grew up thinking he was just my mom's new husband, nothing more complicated than that. My sister and I have always gotten along with him and treated him like a father figure. Fast forward to 2 months ago, my sister got engaged to her boyfriend, and the whole family was thrilled. She wanted a big wedding, inviting everyone, including distant relatives and some old family friends. My mom and I helped with the planning, even though I'm terrible at organizing events. Everything seemed fine until last week when she called me, sounding upset. She told me she wanted to talk about something important that she hadn't told anyone yet. It took me by surprise because she's usually very open about her life. She said she wanted to reveal a family secret that could change everything. I was curious, but also worried about what it could be. During the call, she dropped the bombshell. Her fiancé's biological father is actually my mom's ex-husband, our real dad. Yes, the man we thought left our mom for good is the biological father of my sister's fiancé. Apparently, before my mom remarried, she had a one-time encounter with our dad after their separation, but before the divorce was finalized. My sister's fiancé is the result of that encounter. No one knew this except my sister, our mom, and apparently the fiancé himself. My sister had found out recently from our mom and promised to keep it a secret until the wedding. I was stunned. I asked why she waited so long to tell me and why she planned to go ahead with the wedding knowing this. She said it was complicated because her fiancé didn't want anyone to know, fearing it would ruin the relationship with his biological father, who had been a part of his life growing up but never told him about the connection to my family. I told her that this changes everything for me. It's not just about the wedding. It's about the whole family dynamic. How could she keep this secret? How could our mom hide something so huge from me? I felt betrayed by both of them. The day of the wedding arrived, and I told my sister I couldn't attend. I couldn't face pretending everything was normal while knowing the truth. She begged me to come, saying the wedding was about love, not genetics, and that I was being selfish. Our mom also called me, crying, saying I was tearing the family apart. I stuck to my decision and didn't go. The wedding happened without me, and since then, my sister has barely spoken to me. Other family members have taken her side, saying I overreacted and should forgive and forget. I'm torn. Part of me feels like I'm doing the right thing by standing up for honesty and boundaries. Another part feels guilty for causing a rift on what was supposed to be a happy occasion. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she revealed this family secret at the last minute. Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house after he lied about his job and caused chaos during a family gathering. This all started about 6 months ago, and I'm still steamed thinking about it. I, 29F, have a younger sister, Emma, 25F, who has always been a bit of a free spirit. She's the kind of person who jumps into relationships quickly and often moves people in her life at a fast pace. I love her, but it can get a little overwhelming sometimes. About 6 months ago, Emma started dating this guy, Kyle. Right from the beginning, something about him rubbed me the wrong way. He was charming, very smooth with words, and clearly knew how to make a good impression. But I noticed he didn't really seem to have a steady job. Emma told me he was between gigs, but was a successful freelance graphic designer who worked from home. That was enough for me at the time. I didn't want to pry too much. Fast forward a couple of months, Emma invited Kyle to a big family barbecue at my house. I was a little hesitant, but wanted to be supportive. We had a lot of family coming over, parents, cousins, and friends. I figured this would be a good chance to get to know Kyle better and maybe see if my gut feeling was wrong. The day of the barbecue, everything started fine. Kyle was very polite and friendly to everyone. But when the conversation inevitably turned to jobs and careers, he got super vague. My dad asked him what kind of freelance projects he did, and Kyle said something about working with big brands, but couldn't name any specifics. That raised a red flag for me. Then, my cousin Sarah, who works in marketing, asked him if he had a LinkedIn profile or a portfolio website. Kyle said he didn't use LinkedIn much and that his portfolio was under construction. That felt weird because almost everyone in that industry has an online presence. Later in the afternoon, things got weirder. Emma's friend Jen spotted Kyle checking his phone a lot and saw he was messaging a bunch of people asking for money. Jen told me this in private, and I was stunned. I decided to keep an eye on him without making a scene because I didn't want to embarrass Emma. Towards the end of the barbecue, Kyle asked if he could stay the night at my place since he had to take care of some work early the next day. I hesitated because I already had a bad vibe, but Emma said it would be fine, so I reluctantly agreed. That night, I was half asleep when I heard a loud crash from the living room. I went to check and found Kyle trying to move my expensive stereo equipment. When I asked what he was doing, he said he was borrowing it to fix some speakers for a client. I was furious and told him to stop immediately. Emma, who had come out to see what was happening, defended him, saying he must be under a lot of pressure. I told both of them that he needed to leave right then. The next morning, I found out from my parents that Kyle had called Emma asking to borrow money for a business emergency. I confronted Emma about it, and she said she trusted him and that he just needed a little help to get through a rough patch. I told her that I couldn't trust someone who lied about their job and was asking for money from family without being upfront. The real kicker happened a week later when I decided to do some digging. I looked up Kyle's name online and found out he had been involved in several scams in other cities, using fake job claims to con people into lending money or giving gifts. I showed Emma the evidence, and she was heartbroken, but admitted she hadn't really known him that well before they started dating. Since then, I have refused to let Kyle anywhere near my house or family events. Emma has been upset with me, accusing me of ruining her relationship and not giving Kyle a chance. But I don't feel like I'm in the wrong here. I'm protective of my family and my home, and I can't support someone who lies and manipulates. Emma has started to distance herself from me because she feels I betrayed her trust. Our parents are kind of in the middle, but seem to agree that Kyle wasn't a good influence. So, AITA for kicking Kyle out of my house and refusing to let him stay here after discovering he lied about his job and was asking family for money? Was I too harsh or protective of my sister? Or should I have been more understanding since she was in a relationship? I'm open to hearing other perspectives because I still feel torn between wanting to protect my family and wanting to support my sister. AITA for refusing to apologize to my sister after an explosive family dinner that ended with her calling me selfish and ruining her engagement celebration. My sister, Emily, has always been the golden child of our family. She's the oldest, the one everyone looks up to, and by far the most socially popular and outgoing. I'm her younger brother, Jake, 28, more introverted and less flashy, but I work hard and try to keep things peaceful in the family. Our parents have always been a little bit biased toward Emily, praising her more and often dismissing me, but I never really minded because I love her and wanted her to be happy. About 6 months ago, Emily got engaged to her boyfriend, Mark. Mark is charming, handsome, and from a well-off family. The entire family was excited, and she immediately started planning an engagement party that she wanted to be perfect. I didn't say much about the party at first, but as it got closer, tensions started to rise. Emily is someone who really loves control. She planned every detail herself and invited a huge guest list that included everyone she knew from work, college, and her side of the family, plus Mark's family and friends. She invited me and my girlfriend, but made it clear she didn't want awkward drama at the party, so we were expected to behave ourselves. The week before the party, I reached out to Emily to check in and see if she needed help with anything. She seemed stressed, but said she had it all handled. However, I noticed she was avoiding talking about Mark's parents and a few of her guests. When I gently pressed, she admitted she didn't want them to come because she thought Mark's mom was too nosy and would cause problems. This rubbed me the wrong way because I believe family should be respected and included, especially at something as important as an engagement. The night of the party, everything started out well. The venue was beautiful, the food was great, and Emily was glowing. I was chatting with some relatives and trying to keep the atmosphere light. But then things took a turn. Mark's mother, who had been excluded from the official guest list, somehow showed up with a +1. Emily was visibly upset, but tried to hide it. I went over to talk to Mark's mom briefly to be polite, but I noticed Emily whispering to Mark and giving him a harsh glare. Later in the evening, Emily called me over and told me to step outside for a private talk. She accused me of encouraging Mark's mom to come and said I was trying to ruin her party. I was shocked and denied it, saying I had no idea she was coming and that I had only been polite. Emily didn't believe me and started yelling, saying I was selfish and always trying to steal attention from her. At that point, I lost my patience. I told her that if she wanted to exclude people and control every little detail, she shouldn't be surprised when things blow up. I reminded her that family means more than perfection and that I wouldn't apologize for standing up to her when she was being unreasonable. She called me selfish in front of the whole family and stormed out. The party ended awkwardly, and my parents were divided. My mom said Emily had a right to be upset, but my dad told Emily she needed to learn to be more forgiving. Since then, Emily has refused to speak to me and is demanding that I apologize for ruining her engagement party. She says I humiliated her and that I don't care about her feelings. I feel like I was honest and try to defend what I believe is right, that family should be treated with respect, and that her obsession with control isn't healthy. Am I the asshole for not apologizing and standing my ground, even though it cost me my relationship with my sister? Or should I swallow my pride and try to mend things, even if I think she's overreacting? AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after he insulted my cooking and accused me of trying to ruin their wedding. This all started about 6 months ago when my sister, Claire, got engaged to her now fiancé, Mark. Claire and I have always been close, but our relationship has had its ups and downs, mostly because of how different we are. I'm a bit of a homebody who loves cooking and hosting small family gatherings, while Claire has always been more social and outgoing, often preferring to go out or travel. Still, I was genuinely happy for her when she got engaged, and I wanted to be supportive. When Claire announced the wedding date, she mentioned that Mark would be staying with me and my husband, James, for a few days during the wedding weekend because their hotel reservations fell through last minute. I wasn't thrilled at first. Our house is on the smaller side, and I was worried about the logistics, but I agreed because I wanted to help out and make things easier for them. The problem started immediately after Mark arrived. The first evening, I cooked a homemade dinner for everyone. I was excited to make a dish that my mother had taught me, something that's always been a comfort food in our family. Mark barely touched the food and muttered under his breath that it tasted like something a caveman would eat. I was taken aback, but tried to brush it off, thinking he might just not be used to home-cooked meals, or maybe it was an off night for my cooking. The next day, Mark didn't offer any thanks for breakfast and made a big show of ordering takeout instead of eating what I prepared. When I asked if something was wrong with the food, he told me, "I'm not here to starve, but if this is what you call cooking, no thanks." I felt hurt, but Claire told me not to take it personally and that Mark was just stressed about the wedding planning. Things got worse that evening. We were all sitting in the living room, trying to relax, when Mark suddenly started complaining about the house. He said it was too cramped and outdated, and that Claire could do better than this dump. I was furious and told him that this was my home and that he should show some respect. Mark responded by saying I was being dramatic and that I was just jealous because Claire was moving on with someone who actually has good taste. At this point, Claire stepped in and tried to mediate, but Mark kept pushing. The last straw was when he openly accused me of trying to sabotage their wedding because he claimed I was intentionally cooking bad food to make Claire miserable. I was speechless. I had done nothing but try to be hospitable, and now I was being painted as the villain. The next morning, I told Claire that I didn't want Mark staying in our house anymore. Claire was upset and said I was overreacting and that I should try to get along for the sake of the wedding. James supported me, saying that Mark's behavior was unacceptable and disrespectful. Claire ended up asking Mark to leave, and he stayed at a nearby hotel for the rest of the weekend. The wedding went on without any more incidents, but the whole situation has left a huge rift between me and Claire. She says I was too harsh and that I ruined the chance to build a relationship with Mark. She's asked me to apologize, but I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be sorry for since I was only defending myself and my home. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after he insulted my cooking and accused me of sabotaging their wedding. AITA for telling my sister she can't bring her emotional support dog to my wedding even though she says it's just a dog. My sister, Lena, and I have always had a complicated relationship, but when it came to my wedding planning, I really hoped we could find some common ground. I'm 32, and she's 29. We grew up together, but our lives have taken very different paths. I'm getting married in about 6 months, and it's a pretty big deal for me. Not just the ceremony, but also the vibe I want. I want it to be elegant, formal, and honestly, very controlled. We're having the wedding at a historical venue with about 150 guests, and I've spent months organizing every detail. Lena has a diagnosed anxiety disorder and has had an emotional support dog for the last year. The dog is a medium-sized mixed breed, very friendly but quite energetic. She's very attached to the dog and insists it's necessary for her well-being. I get that, and I support mental health 100%. But here's where the problem started. When I sent out the invitations, I also emailed the family with some ground rules for the wedding: formal dress code, no kids, we have a kid-free event, and no pets except for the service animals of people who really need them. I didn't explicitly mention emotional support animals because I wasn't sure how to handle that yet, but I thought since I haven't heard anything, it was understood. Then Lena called me a few weeks ago, saying she wants to bring her emotional support dog to the wedding. She said the dog helps her tremendously with her anxiety and that she couldn't attend without it. She assured me it's just a dog, well-behaved, and won't be disruptive. I told her honestly that I don't think it's a good idea. The venue is old and doesn't allow pets on the premises except for service animals under the ADA. I explained that emotional support animals don't have the same legal recognition as service dogs, and I was worried about liability, allergies among guests, and the general formality of the event. I also pointed out that it's not fair to other guests who might have issues with animals or who might get distracted by the dog. She got very upset and said I was being insensitive and that I didn't understand what she goes through. She said the dog isn't just a pet, but a lifeline. I told her I wasn't trying to dismiss her struggles, but I also had to think about the event as a whole. I offered to have her sit somewhere near the entrance where she could take breaks with the dog outside if needed, but she said that's not a solution because the dog needs to be with her the entire time. Things escalated when she started posting about it on social media, complaining that I was excluding her and ignoring her mental health needs. Family members started taking sides, with some supporting her and others agreeing with me. A couple of my other guests have allergies and pet phobias, so I also have to consider their comfort and health. The venue itself has very strict rules about animals, and I would likely be fined or asked to leave if the dog was there. At one point, my fiancée told me to just let her bring the dog to avoid the drama. But I feel like this isn't about drama. It's about respect for boundaries and the type of event we're hosting. I don't want to make my wedding day stressful or uncomfortable for myself or the majority of guests. Lena threatened to not come at all if the dog isn't allowed, which puts me in an even harder spot because I love her and want her there, but I also don't want to compromise the day for everyone else. I feel stuck. Am I the asshole for telling her she can't bring her emotional support dog, even though she says it's a crucial part of her mental health? Or should I just relent and accept that this is something I have to allow? Thanks in advance for your perspectives. This whole situation has been emotionally draining, and I'm just trying to do what's best for everyone. AITA for refusing to take care of my sister's kids, even though she's struggling and has no one else. So here's the background. I, 34F, have a younger sister, Emily, 29F, who has always been a bit of a wild card. Growing up, she was the kind of kid who would dive headfirst into trouble, and honestly, I was the responsible one in the family. I have a stable job, a steady relationship, and I live a pretty peaceful life. Emily, on the other hand, has bounced around between different jobs, relationships, and has had a handful of personal issues, mostly related to her mental health and substance use, which she's been trying to work through on and off for years. A few years ago, Emily got pregnant unexpectedly. The father was someone she'd been casually seeing, and they weren't exactly in a stable relationship. Emily decided to keep the baby, and I tried to be supportive, but it was a huge change for her and the family. When her son, Noah, was born, Emily struggled a lot with the day-to-day responsibilities. She's a good mom at heart, but the reality of parenting overwhelmed her more than she expected. Fast forward to now, Emily has 2 kids, Noah, who's 4, and Mia, who's 2. Over the past couple of years, she's been reaching out to me more and more, asking for help with childcare because she works irregular hours and has no one else. Our parents live out of state, and while they occasionally help, it's not consistent or long-term. Emily's work is mostly in retail and sometimes bartending, so the schedule is unpredictable and the kids' daycare costs are high. Here's where things get tricky. Over the years, I've helped her out here and there, watched the kids for a few hours, babysat overnight a handful of times, but it's never been a regular thing. I have my own career in life, and honestly, I don't want to be the primary person responsible for raising 2 kids who aren't mine. I love my niece and nephew, but my life isn't set up to be a parent or full-time caregiver. Recently, Emily's been going through another tough patch. She's had some health issues, her car broke down, and her job hours got cut. So she started asking me to watch the kids several days a week. She told me she's struggling and has no one else to turn to, and frankly, it started to feel overwhelming. I suggested she look into local community resources or find a more stable daycare situation, but she said she can't afford it and no one will help. I told her flat out that I can't take care of Noah and Mia several days a week. I said I'm happy to help occasionally, but I have my own responsibilities, and it's not fair to expect me to become a second parent. I also mentioned that if she's truly struggling, maybe she needs to reach out to social services or find additional support rather than putting all the burden on me. Emily got very upset. She accused me of being selfish and abandoning my family. She said I'm not being a good sister and that I'm making her life harder. She brought up all the times I had help growing up and how she never got that same support. She said she feels like I'm the only one who can help, but I'm refusing her when she needs me the most. Our parents got involved and told me I should try to help Emily more because families should always have each other's backs. They said maybe I don't realize how hard it is for her, that I'm being cold. My boyfriend and some close friends support me and say I'm not obligated to sacrifice my entire life to babysit. But they also told me to tread carefully because Emily is really upset. I feel bad because I want to support my sister, but I also feel like she's relying on me too much and not taking responsibility for finding solutions. She has other friends and distant family, but I'm her go-to person. I'm not a parent, and I'm not equipped or willing to raise her kids for her. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to take care of my sister's kids several days a week. when she says she has no one else and is struggling? Or am I right to set these boundaries and say I can only help occasionally? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she invited my abusive ex? This is a long one, so bear with me. I, 29F, have a complicated relationship with my sister, 32F, mostly because of my abusive ex, 33M. I'm going to try to explain everything clearly, but it's a lot, so please read carefully. About 4 years ago, I met this guy, Mark. When we started dating, he seemed like a really charming and attentive person. Everyone liked him, including my family. For a long time, I ignored the little things that made me uncomfortable. He was jealous, controlling about who I talked to, and sometimes verbally nasty. Over time, his behavior escalated to physical abuse. I don't want to go into every detail because it's painful, but he hit me multiple times, once so hard I had to go to the hospital. He also threatened me if I ever left him or told anyone. Eventually, I found the courage to leave him with the help of a friend, and I cut all contact. It was the hardest decision I ever made, but it was necessary for my sanity and safety. I got therapy and started rebuilding my life. My family was incredibly supportive, especially my sister. She was one of the few people I confided in and leaned on during that time. For a while, things were okay. Fast forward to last year. My sister started dating a guy, Eric, who seemed nice at first. But after a few months, I started noticing weird things. She was always on edge, texting him constantly, and canceling plans with me and others. I suspected something was off, but didn't want to pry. Then she told me that Eric had been married before, and his ex was actually my ex, Mark. I couldn't believe it. I confronted my sister, asking why she hadn't told me earlier. She said she only recently found out about Mark's past, and that Eric had told her everything after they met. Apparently, Eric was also in an abusive relationship with Mark before. They bonded over their shared experience, and Eric warned her that Mark could be manipulative. But despite that, she said she still wanted to marry Eric because she loves him and believes he's changed. That in itself was complicated enough, but then she dropped the bomb. The wedding invite list included Mark. I was stunned. I asked her if she was serious, and she said yes. Mark supposedly reached out to Eric, saying he wanted to make amends and be there to support them. Eric and my sister believed it was a chance for closure and healing. They thought inviting Mark would show growth and forgiveness. I told her I couldn't go to the wedding if Mark was there. I explained how much damage he caused me and that his presence would ruin the day for me emotionally. She accused me of being selfish and refusing to forgive, that it was just the past and people could change. I reminded her that Mark never apologized or acknowledged the abuse. He just said he's working on himself. My sister dismissed that, saying everyone deserves a second chance, including Mark. The situation escalated. My parents took her side, saying I was making things about me and ruining the family harmony. My sister told me if I didn't come, she wouldn't forgive me and might cut me out of her life. I felt trapped and hurt. I've been wrestling with this for weeks. I'm angry and sad that my sister chose to invite the person who caused me so much pain. I understand forgiveness is important, but it doesn't mean I have to expose myself to trauma. I can't just pretend it didn't happen. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she invited my abusive ex? Should I just suck it up for the sake of family peace? Or am I right to put my mental health first? AITA for refusing to let my sister's kids stay with us after she suddenly moved to another state and expected us to take full responsibility for them? I'm 33F, and I live with my husband 35M and our 2 kids, ages 5 and 7, in a medium-sized city. My sister, 28F, has 2 kids of her own, 6M and 3F. We have always had a somewhat complicated relationship with her. Growing up, she was the wild child type, rebellious, flaky, and not very responsible. I've always tried to be supportive because family is important to me, but I have also had to set firm boundaries over the years because she often made impulsive decisions that affected everyone around her. About a month ago, my sister called me out of the blue. She sounded frantic. She told me she had decided to move out of state. She didn't specify exactly why, but hinted it was some new job opportunity that she felt she couldn't pass up. What caught me off guard was that she asked if her kids could stay with us indefinitely because she was going to get things settled before bringing them over. I was stunned. My husband and I have full-time jobs, 2 young children, and our house is cozy, but definitely not set up for permanent guests, especially not 2 more kids with no clear plan in place. I told her I wasn't comfortable with taking on full responsibility for her kids indefinitely and asked for more details about what she meant by getting things settled. She said she'd be back within a few weeks, but couldn't say for sure and that she didn't have anyone else she could ask. She promised she'd cover any extra expenses and even help with childcare costs while she was gone. After that call, I talked to my husband about it. We both agreed that while we want to support family, taking on full custody without a legal agreement or a timeline was too much. I contacted my sister again and said we could help out short-term if she really needed it, but that she had to arrange her move so she could either bring her kids with her or have a family member take care of them locally. She got upset, saying I wasn't being supportive or family-oriented enough and accused me of being selfish. Then things escalated. A week after our conversation, my sister showed up at our house with her 2 kids and a few bags. She said she couldn't find anyone else and that she expected us to take care of the kids until she was ready. I told her firmly again that this wasn't something we agreed to and that this arrangement wasn't sustainable for us. She got angry, saying she was in a tough spot and that she thought family was supposed to help each other out no matter what. My husband and I tried to be reasonable. We said she could stay overnight, and we'd watch the kids for a day or two, but we couldn't take on full responsibility. She refused to leave and said if we didn't agree, she'd have to call Child Protective Services to force us to take care of her kids. She said it was only fair since we had stable jobs and a house. At this point, I started feeling overwhelmed and anxious. My own kids were confused and upset by the sudden presence of my niece and nephew, and my husband was worried about the strain this was putting on our family. We called social services ourselves to get advice on what to do because we didn't want to be accused of neglect or abandonment. The social worker told us that legally, my sister was still the guardian and that unless we legally adopted or obtained custody, we weren't obligated to take care of her kids long term. They recommended we encourage her to make formal arrangements or seek assistance from relatives or community resources. We had a serious family meeting with my sister, involving my parents, trying to reach a compromise. My parents lived 2 hours away and said they could help for a week or two, but couldn't take on the kids full time. My sister got emotional and said no one cared about her or her children except me, and I was turning my back on them. I told her I loved her and wanted to support her, but that taking care of her kids indefinitely was beyond what we could handle. After that, she left, taking her kids with her, but the tension remains. My parents told me she's been bad-mouthing me to family, saying I abandoned her and left her kids stranded. I feel awful because these are my niece and nephew, and I want what's best for them, but I also have to protect my own family and set boundaries. So, Reddit, AITA, for refusing to take full responsibility for my sister's kids after she moved away suddenly and expected us to step in indefinitely without any formal arrangements? Or should I have just said yes to avoid family drama? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend move in after she moved out? So, this has been a huge point of tension in my family, and I'm really conflicted about whether I'm the asshole here or not. I'll try to explain everything as clearly as I can. I, 30M, live with my sister, 28F, and our parents in a pretty big house. Our parents own the house, and we've all lived here since we were kids. The house is large enough that we all have separate rooms, and there's plenty of space for everyone. Over the years, our dynamic has been pretty normal. I have my space, my sister has hers, and we all get along fine for the most part. A few months ago, my sister started dating this guy. Let's call him Jake, 32M. Jake seemed fine at first. Nice enough, polite, seemed respectful of boundaries. But as their relationship got more serious, things started to get weird. My sister suddenly started spending way more time at Jake's place, which is about a 45-minute drive away. I was happy for her, thought she was just getting serious with him. Then out of nowhere, she dropped the bomb that she was moving out of our parents' house to live with Jake. At first, everyone was a bit shocked, especially because she hadn't told us in advance. Our parents were kind of sad because she'd be leaving the house that she'd lived in her whole life, but they tried to be supportive. The problem started when Jake said he wanted to move into the house after my sister moved out. See, Jake's place is really small and kind of a dump. He doesn't make much money and isn't really stable. So he proposed that after my sister moved in with him, he'd move into our parents' house and rent her old room. Our parents were hesitant, but they thought it might be okay since it would bring in some rent money, and Jake would be close to my sister. The thing is, I really don't like Jake. I've never had a good vibe from him, and honestly, I think he's kind of lazy and entitled. My sister is super independent, and I worry that Jake is going to take advantage of our family's generosity. When my sister first brought up Jake moving in, I told her flat out that I wasn't comfortable with that arrangement. I said I didn't want someone I didn't trust living in the same house as me, especially since Jake doesn't really have a job or a steady source of income. I also told our parents that I didn't want Jake moving in. My parents pushed back and said I was being unfair, that Jake was family now, and we should be supportive. They said that since he's dating my sister, he deserves a chance to live there, especially since our parents trust him. I told them that trust is earned and that I had serious reservations. This caused a big fight. My sister accused me of being controlling and jealous. She said Jake was her partner and I should support her no matter what. Our parents accused me of being selfish and not thinking about the family as a whole. I got really frustrated because I felt like no one was listening to me or taking my concerns seriously. I tried to compromise by saying Jake could come over often, spend nights there occasionally, but I didn't want him as a permanent resident. But everyone dismissed that, saying it wasn't practical and that I was being unreasonable. The situation escalated over the next few weeks. My sister moved out, and Jake immediately started trying to claim the room. Our parents let him stay temporarily, but I refused to speak to him or acknowledge him as part of the household. I kept my distance and told them I wouldn't be comfortable living under the same roof as him. Eventually, the tension got so bad that our parents gave Jake an ultimatum. Either he starts contributing more financially and acting more responsible, or he'd have to leave. Jake didn't change much, and after a few months, he ended up moving out. Since then, things have cooled off somewhat, but my sister hasn't really forgiven me. She says I ruined her relationship and that I should have supported her from the start. Our parents are kind of neutral now, but still wish things had gone differently. I feel like I did the right thing by standing my ground because I knew Jake wouldn't be good for our family dynamic or for me personally. But I also feel guilty for possibly pushing my sister and Jake away. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend move into the house after she moved out? Or should I have just accepted it and tried to make the best of it? Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.